Hey Raiders, Jacko here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Now, I know I said that the wrap-up video was the last of the beginner's tutorial series. However, I was looking through and going through my game and realized that I omitted a massive area of the game that really needs some attention. So, we're coming back and we're adding a video to the beginner's tutorial series. And that's going to be on artifacts. Specifically on artifacts for free-to-play and early game players. I mean, we can look at, you can look at the sets, you can see what they do, and you can watch videos on how they're great for one character or champion or another, and how to use them in that regards. But what we're looking at is when you finally get to 1,000 out of 1,000 artifacts, what are you really looking for to start culling your artifact pool? How do you make those decisions? So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in here. So, as you can see, I'm at 1,000 of 1,000. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and find the artifacts that I am getting constantly from my leveling, so from my campaign farming. And that's going to be in the curing set. The curing set is the set you get from stage 12 of campaign. As such, if you're doing a lot of leveling in stage 12 of campaign, you're going to have a massive ton of curing. It's probably the reason you're at 1,000 of 1,000, if not more. In fact, I've got curing items, boots specifically, just sitting in my mail right now prior to this video. So, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of all of these curing boots. This is a headache. When you're leveling, you're going to be coming in here and getting rid of these things on a constant basis. I do it probably once every other day while I'm leveling champs. Now, as you can see, there are a lot of them, but they're nowhere near as many as I usually would have. And the reason for that is I've been doing dungeon runs and things like that, and have 945 artifacts outside of that easy curing set to get rid of. So, where do we go next? We got rid of the items we're getting from our campaign farming. Easy peasy. A little bit harder. Next up, let's go to the filter and let's go ahead and highlight our gloves, our chests, and our boots. And down here, we can sort by the primary stats. It's a wonderful thing. They put the fitting room in too. We're going to have to take a look at that. I'm really looking forward to that. So the fitting room is a way to essentially put gear on champions and then see how it stacks up to the gear they currently have before you spend all the silver to actually move the items. Great thing to have put in. So, back on topic, sorry about that. We highlight our gloves, our chests, and our boots. We come down to primary stats, and we go ahead and highlight these static stats. So static HP, static attack, static defense. And at this point, I don't care if it's a 5-star epic speed boots. They're not worth it. They just aren't. There are going to be some key exceptions to these rules, but in general, and until you get to the point where you're finicking itty-bitty little stats for characters for a very specific purpose, aka mid to end game, you don't care. So go ahead and get rid of any of these static stat items. So depending on how diligent you've been on these, that's going to cut you down a little bit. That only cut me down by 12. I've got a lot to go. So the next thing I'm going to do is the long one. I'm going to go through each of these sets, and I like to do them individually and just look at what I've got. So I've got a 3-star HP gauntlet here in my life set. I've progressed to the point where I'm getting 4, 5, and 6-star equipment. Do I really need to keep this 3-star epic gauntlet around? The answer is no. Go ahead and get rid of that guy. Just not worth it for me anymore. 4-star, this is where it gets hard. Are you to the point where you're getting 5 and 6-star items a lot? If you are, and you're getting them a lot, then go ahead and cull your 4 stars. Now, I would make this decision on a set-by-set basis. If you notice, I don't have all that much life set. So I'm not going to cull my 4 stars in life. Let's come down to life steal, though. I've got quite a bit of life steal. I've got a 3-star rare. I've got a 4-star common. Definitely getting rid of any commons and any rares that I've managed to accumulate for whatever reason. Now, looking at the 4 stars, more 3-star rares, commons. And so looking at a 4-star. So accuracy, lifesteal, 4-star chest. Accuracy is actually rather difficult for me to get, and lifesteal is a very important set for all my champions because it's the first set I put them in for faction crypts. So we're going to keep the accuracy chest around. HP percent, a defensive thing. Gonna keep that one around too. Defense, gonna keep that one around. And the reason I'm keeping these around for lifesteal is because I use it so prolifically. If this was a set that I only put on a few people, like crit percentage, those would have been gone. 4-star, I can get better with 5 and 6 stars. Coming up to our gloves here, I've got an attack percent. 4-star attack percent, gone. 4-star crit damage set. Honestly, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to be moving my champions to crit damage, but this is 4-star and it's only a rare. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. 5-star defense, we'll have to think about that. 5-star HP, again, we have to think about that. Those are difficult ones. So we sell those. So this is what you do. You go through each of the sets and take a look at, what is it? So a weapon, it's always going to have attack as its main. It's got crit damage and HP. Not really, I don't think I'm going to want to level that. There are going to be better options. An attack with attack percentage. Maybe, again, I'd rather have an epic or a legendary if I'm going to be dealing with 4 stars. So we're going to go ahead and sell those ones as well. Now let's go look at something that I'm going to use a little bit less. Let's try, we get a lot of Immortal. Here we are. So Immortal set, I get a lot of it. You get a lot of it out of Clan Boss and everything. So looking at it, what are we going to get rid of? Well, first thing we're going to get rid of is anything that is common or uncommon. They're just not worth your silver to invest in. So there go those 4, just gone. Now we're going to look at 4-star stuff. Legendary boots. Defense boots. How often am I going to use defense boots in a Immortal set? I'm not. It's legendary, it's 4-star, it's gone. Accuracy chest. Again, accuracy. Accuracy is a hard one to get your head around. I keep my accuracy ones because I seem to find need for them frequently. Defense. Do I have a better defense in epics? I certainly do. So that rare is going away as 4-star. HP. Again, do I have better HP elsewhere or better defensive ones? I do in the 4-star epics. So those are gone. What about these gloves here? Defense gloves with crit rate. Okay, let's keep them around. They might be worthwhile. So you go through and you look at those sorts of things for pretty much everything you have when you're trying to cull down. And I'm not going to do every piece here because it would be a nightmare long video as I decide, is this piece better than that piece? Anyways, it would be terrifying. So suffice it to say, that's your primary goal. Start from the bottom up, essentially. So get rid of, if you're running anything above level 10 in the dungeons frequently, get rid of all your 3 stars and below. 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 star. Just get rid of them. Get rid of all your uncommons and commons if you're running those dungeons and you're getting rares and up frequently. It is just not worth keeping around. You're not going to invest the silver in them, and if you do, you're probably going to regret it. So the final step here is to look at the set itself and whether or not it's worthwhile for you, for your account. Is it am I going to need any curing equipment ever? And if I'm not, what curing equipment am I going to keep around? I don't even know why I'm keeping these 3. They were 4 and 5 star and looked pretty. Same with the shield, but the gauntlet. There is absolutely no reason for me to have kept any of these. I thought I had a better look. Ay. And apparently I can't clip things. So there they go. Gone. When you're going through all of these, you'll need to make a decision of where your cutoff is in terms of stars and in terms of rarity. If you've gotten to a point where you're getting a massive influx of 5 and 6 star equipment, it might be time to cull your entire list and get rid of the 4-star equipment unless it's really, really good. So look at each set. Star Wars 1 I'm not going to worry about much. I'm going to want to go through and be much harder on what I keep here. Boots, I'm probably only going to keep speed boots. Gauntlets, I'm probably only going to keep crit rate and crit damage gauntlets here. Since it is stalwart, I might keep defense percent gauntlets. Depends on this set group. Once you've gone through and you've culled down everything, you've made that deciding point for yourself, for your account, and culled down everything. The last thing to do, and this you will want to wait for an artifact enhancement event or tournament to come around, is come into your wherever you are, look at, another comment. I've been not paying attention when I've been doing that, but look at your sets here. So I've got 5-star gauntlets here. I want to make a decision on if I want to keep these. Let's say that they're crit rate and have crit damage here. Could be really good. I'm going to want to go in and upgrade them to level 8. Just let it go. See if I get a double on crit damage, or if I get a double, in this case, on defense. So a single on defense could be good, could be a really nice set of gauntlets for a defensive-based champion at this point. Will it be, or will another point go into crit damage instead? The reason I say that you want to do this, into crit damage. So if I was flush with lifesteal gauntlets, I would get rid of these. I don't have many lifesteal gauntlets, so I'll keep them around. But go through, and any piece of equipment that you might want to keep, level them up to level 8. Again, do this during an artifact enhancement event because you'll get a ton of points for it. In fact, you can usually hit the top end just by going through your stuff and getting everything you might want to keep up to level 8. If it gets bad rolls, let's say, that's not a good one. Attack, defense, crit rate. So crit rate with attack and defense. So these could be, if they weren't in the day set, really good gauntlets for one of my characters. They're getting crit rate out of it. They might be getting attack percentage. So for an attack-based champion, that's a good set. But it did exactly what I thought it was going to do. It put points into a static defense stat. These are now trash. They did it twice. These are not good. They could have been good, and they could have been something I wanted to keep around, but leveling it up to level 8 showed me where those points are going, and that's going to be invaluable for you for making the decision on whether or not to keep a piece of equipment. And that is item culling. Item culling is something you're going to do on a regular basis. It's going to happen. So get comfortable with getting rid of what initially might look like good items. And that last tip, the leveling it up to level 8, to see where those sub-stat points go, that is invaluable for making those decisions. Looking at their level 0s, a lot of pieces of equipment can look good. But looking at their level 8s, you really get a clear idea of how that artifact is going to fit into your account. So finally, we do have an aesthetic review request from Donat for our undead samurai, Saito. Saito is a beautiful looking legendary, just gorgeous. From an armor standpoint, he's got a very... It's relatively samurai-inspired, honestly. It's got a little bit more of some Chinese leanings. The Japanese didn't really have these big kidney belts like Saito is wearing, but the Chinese did. That's a very common Chinese thing. So we're going to look at Saito as more of an Asian mishmash here. He's got absolutely wonderful greaves. The knee protection is very intimidating and dramatic, and probably not going to screw him up. The horns aren't pointed back. They're not going to catch on things. They might catch on his drapes sometimes, but I assume that's something he's learned to live around. They're metal. They're very pretty. He doesn't have any side of the knee protection. That metal couldn't possibly come down if he actually wanted to move. So that's going to be a little bit sad on that part. He's going to be in a lot of pain if someone hits the side of his knee. Not a hard shot to give. But nice boots all in all. Very intimidating. I really like them. Up to the drape. The drape is beautiful. I mean, I'm going to assume that these are cloth and leather. This looks like a padded gambeson, the black pieces here, with probably another padded gambeson underneath. Now, padded gambeson are essentially two heavy pieces of fabric sewn together with some sort of filler in between. Lightweight, really good for under armor, offers a little bit of protection. Very nice. The fact that he's got these layered the way he does is actually going to provide a ton of protection. That fabric's going to be hard to move, and when he's moving, it's going to be flowing in such a way that, say he's dodging to the left, it's going to billow out to the right. So if someone's attacking that right leg, the sword's going to get caught up in that fabric and have to get rid of the momentum that all this heavy fabric's creating before it gets to the leg. It's actually really useful. There are a ton of blows. I wear a similar kind of drape. It's not quite this heavy, but it is heavy. And a ton of blows that look like they landed really solid barely hit my leg because of that movement of the fabric and everything. So absolutely gorgeous drape here. It goes all the way around. It has very pretty decorations. Very aesthetically pleasing with the reds and blacks. I like it. And in many Asian cultures, red is a color of luck. So he's essentially being lucky in his armor, which is a good thing to be. You don't want to die because you're unlucky. The kidney belt. Kidney belt is wonderful. It is likely leather. It is well attached. The attachment points are very Chinese in aspect. I wear a kidney belt that looks almost identical to this, though he's had more money to dye it and tool it and everything like that. Interesting that he's wearing this mask on his belt. It's probably because he's not currently in battle. It looks to be metal, which means it would offer some nice protection for the face and all, though not the back of the head. It's interesting. If he was a samurai, you would expect a full helm and then a mempo, which is this face covering that covers the nose and the mouth and everything, leaving the eyes exposed. And those are generally very fearsome, like this is showing. It's a very fearsome, very intimidating look. But it's got material from the nose up, over the top of the head just a little bit. So it's not a traditional mempo. But it's not a traditional helm either, because it doesn't have anything in the back. It really is a mask. So he's protecting the front of his face when he's wearing this, but nothing else. It's a very interesting stylistic choice here. Had I been designing it, I probably would have made it a mempo instead to jive with the whole samurai feel. Chest armor, looks like he's got good chest armor. It's not too overstated. It's not going to get in his way. Very nice. It works. It's protective. It's decorational. It's an A. He's done good. He's got very pretty vambraces. The spikes on the back are probably going to jab into his upper arms while he's fighting occasionally, but maybe he enjoys that sort of thing. You never know with the undead. No hand protection again. He's got what looks like leather back coverings, which is good. That being said, this is very typically Japanese. If you look at kendo fighting or anything along those lines, they frequently have armor for the back of the hand, but nothing for the fingers. For me, this would be a terrible thing. I block with my hands constantly. And I do fight Florentine, though he's got his left-hand sword, Refuse, which is a very difficult way to fight. But Florentine means fighting with two swords. I fight Florentine, I block with my hands all the time. If he's much better about blocking with the blades and catching sliding blades on the guard, then this isn't a problem for him. Unlike the great weapon wielders we've looked at, he'll probably not lose his fingers. Me, if I was in his place and wearing this armor, I'd want finger protection because I would lose my fingers. That's a style, or that's a combat training choice at that point for whether or not to protect the fingers or not. In this situation, he could get away with it depending on his fighting style. The upper arms, nice articulated leather with some studs, very protective, very nice, and not going to get in his ways. The pauldrons are absolutely beautiful and absolutely worthless. They're too big. They're going to get in the way of his vision, his mobility, and all of that. And those spikes being aimed at his face means that if he moves his hands above his head, look what that's going to do to the spikes. They're going to drive right into his temple. He's literally going to kill himself with his pauldrons, especially since he's not wearing a helm. We went over the helm sort of piece with the mask here, so we're not going to belabor that, but those shoulder pads are literally going to kill him. That being said, they're beautiful. In a purely fantasy aesthetic, they're absolutely gorgeous. It's some sort of demon on the top there. They're spiky. They're layered. It's very, very pretty and very, very ineffectual. Now, to me, overall aesthetic-wise, I see Saito very much as, honestly, non-Japanese. I see him more in the Chinese aspect. There are two main points that move him from mainland Asia over to Nippon. And that's going to be this drape right here is very typical of the samurai shoulder drapes that you'll see on a lot of samurai armor. It should be around at the point over here, but it is very typical. He's got it as a decoration, which to me says it's a trophy, rather than a piece of his armor, pushing him a little farther towards the mainland in my regard. And we'll get to the second point in just a minute. Overall armor, combat effectiveness-wise, it's because of the pauldron, it's not so great. So we're not going to give him a full 5 gourds on his armor because of the pauldrons. However, everything else is wonderful. So we're going to give Saito an overall armor aesthetic of 4 gourds. Now on his weapons here, this is the second point that pushes him towards Nippon. They're katanas. One of them being longer than the other, though I guess I can kind of see that in the actual blades themselves, rather than just judging on the case, the sheaths here. Point of note, he's got his sheaths upside down. So katanas are renowned for the sharpness of their blades, which means that when you have them sheathed, you don't want them lying on their blades. Over time, just due to their weight, that's going to dull the blade. It's a bad thing. So all of those display cases and everything you see that has the katanas looking like this in the display case, they're wrong. They're flipped. They should be rotated 180 degrees so that the blade is pointed up. Interesting point of note. Given the links, it looks like this blade here, whichever blade it is, probably his left hand, is a katana, whereas the other blade, much longer, at least a foot, maybe a foot and a half, would be a Daikatana. Daikitanos are generally used two-handed, but apparently he's a badass. Looking at the blades themselves, very pretty typical katanas. They're absolutely beautiful. They've got the nice round guard, wrapped hilts, very pretty. These, though, have what looks like slight serrations along the back edge of the back edge of the blade, which is an interesting thing. The back edge of a katana isn't sharp. There's no reason for you to hit with the back edge of the katana. In fact, a lot of katana fighting techniques actually have you place your hand on the back edge to support a block or to give some power, which means those serrations are going to be counterproductive for him in general. Though he is using it two hands, he's probably never, or he's using two swords, he's fighting Florentine, he's probably never going to use a free hand on his blade in any way, so maybe they don't get in the way. Looks great, though. And the swords are on fire. I mean, how badass can you get? Flaming swords. Everybody wants one. Nobody wants the burns from them. Interestingly enough, I'm in the process of making a great sword that has the Kevlar wrapped around it so that I can use it as a fire sword for displays and demonstrations and things like that. I'm going to burn the crap out of myself when I make this thing. I can guarantee that. Saito's undead. He doesn't have to worry about the burns, though, so perfect weapon choice for our undead Asian warrior here. All in all, weapons-wise, I'm going to give Saito here a 5 gourd. Badassitude. Flaming swords. Undead. Absolutely terrifying. In all honesty, his armor is going to keep him undamaged for the most part. His weapons are going to be hell of intimidating, and if the fuel that keeps them alive sprays out when he connects with another sword, that's going to be just another level of intimidation as pieces of the enemy's clothing catches on fire and things like that. So, absolutely terrifying. So Saito, we're going to give a badassitude, a fear factor, a intimidation and morale impact on the battlefield, a 5 gourd. So all in all, I'm going to actually say that Saito is not a samurai. I hadn't made that connection until I looked into this in depth, and looked into him in depth here. I'm going to say he's actually likely a mainland Asian, probably Chinese warrior who has run into a samurai, defeated them, and stolen their equipment. Not very honorable, but he's undead. Maybe honor is something you lose when you die and get resurrected. So I'm going to say he's more mainland Asian than samurai. I'm really looking forward to the new faction they're coming out with that is Asian inspired. Again, the one they're showing, or we've gotten a few pictures of for the Fragment Summon, looks mainland Asian to me. It'll be interesting to see how they work that, how they blend it. Anyways, bit of a tangent there. So, overall aesthetic, overall combat effectiveness for Saito. Even with those pointy shoulder pads that are going to kill him, I'm going to give our boy here a 5 gourd. He's in beautiful armor, beautiful weapons, really good looking champion, and for the most part the armor is very effective. So thank you, Donat, for suggesting Saito as a aesthetic overview. Again, if you enjoyed the content, please remember to like, subscribe, and toll that bell so you get notifications on when new videos go up. I've also got a short series going up where I do shard pulls and quick, brutal rants about the aesthetics of the character when I do a shard pull. So enjoy those. They're less than a minute every time, something you can watch as you're walking down the hall at work. Easy peasy. Anyways, thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Jacko's Raider Rants.